with that loss, have tied the franchise's best 13-game start since 1994. The Giants, on the other hand, they're 5-8, but have a recent win over the Seahawks that they're very proud of. They meet on Sunday Night Football this weekend. So, Max, do your Giants maybe, perhaps, pull off this upset?
I think they do. I'm going to call the Giants upset. And I think part of it is because Colt McCoy is going to play. Daniel Jones, it would have been a mistake to play him. And I'm not even talking about Daniel Jones' future. I'm talking about for right now. Giants are trying to make the playoffs. And they look like they're starting to turn things around. And what we saw from Daniel Jones last week is his legs, his wheels, are such a big part of his game that when the defense knows that he can't move, he's a sitting duck. Now, that may make you a little nervous about his future. Like, what is his upside if he's that dependent on his legs? Much like we ask, is Lamar Jackson, whether or not he's elite year to year, can he kind of be a fixture as an elite quarterback? Now, think of a poor man's version of that. Colt McCoy, let's not forget, comes in against the Bengals. They win. Low-scoring game, but they win. He doesn't turn the ball over. Beats Seattle. He turned the ball over once, but he also threw a touchdown. But they won the game. And then didn't play against or start against Arizona. And that's when the Giants got beat up. McCoy doesn't do anything fancy. He seems to read defenses pretty well, and he has an idea of what he's doing. He's not super talented. He completes about 60% of his passes. But he's a solid NFL backup, and he's going to play within himself. And Stephen A., coming off a game like the Browns just did to a divisional rival, just like we saw with Pittsburgh and the Ravens. You play those teams the week after you have a better chance to win. And by the way, Pittsburgh lost to Washington. The Browns are going to suffer an emotional letdown, I believe. And while they love to zone block and run the ball, the Giants have an excellent defense against the run. And if you really believe that Joe Judge is an excellent coach, and Belichick disciple, right? Then he knows what the Browns are going to do and has time to game plan to stop it. Like we see pretty clearly what the Browns want to do on offense now. I think that all adds up to, and they're at home, and everyone's picking the Browns. There's going to be some overconfidence. I think the Giants win a very tight, low-scoring game.
I disagree. I think you're being a homer. I think you're getting caught up in the emotional source of it all. Whether it's Daniel Jones or Colt McCoy or whomever, they're not winning this game because they can't score. Their defense is improved. I think Joe Judge has proven to be a quality coach. I'm very fond of the job that he has done, and he deserves to be commended for it. They won 4 straight coming into last week's game before they lost to Arizona. But I think you're forgetting about the Browns. The Browns haven't clinched anything yet. They're 9-4. But they've lost to the Baltimore Ravens twice. The Baltimore Ravens are a game back right now after beating them this past week. They can't afford to lose these games. You got the Giants and the Jets coming up in back-to-back weeks. The Browns better not lose this game. They better not have an emotional drop-off, at least not over the next 2 weeks. They better get to 11 wins because with the Ravens breathing down their backs, having beaten them twice this year, obviously that means they'd get a tiebreaker. The Browns can find themselves on the outside looking in. I think they're aware of it. I think they know it. I think the way that the offense has been clicking, the way that Baker Mayfield has looked, the way that Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb have ran the football, the way that he's connected with Jarvis Landry, et cetera, et cetera. I just think that there's too much going for the Browns right now. It's an acceptable loss to lose to a division rival like the Baltimore Ravens if indeed you're trying to show that a culture change has indeed taken place. It's another thing entirely to lose to the 5-7 New York Giants. That still has a quarterback that's trying to develop and what have you. There is no excuse for that. I think the Browns know it, and I think they will rise to the occasion and handle their business the way that they're supposed to this coming weekend against a Giants offense that's ranked 31st in points scored, 31st in yards accumulated, 30th against with their passing attack as well. Even though Wayne Gallman has run the football effectively, the bottom line is they can't really throw the football, even with Sterling Shepard, with Golden Tate, with Eric Ebron and these boys. Evan Ingram, and these boys. I just don't see it happening against this Browns team right now. I think the Browns win this game.
Well, first of all, the Browns do have 9 wins, Stephen A., and we both agree, right? We can say ahead of time they're going to beat the Jets, so they have 10 wins. So, like, it sets up in an interesting way because the Giants really need the Washington to go 1-2, which is possible. You know, the Eagles aren't so bad anymore, right? Now that they don't have Carson Wentz starting. And the Giants need to go 2-1. And since they won the division, they beat Washington both games this year. Giants go to the playoffs if they go 2-1 and Washington goes 1-2. The Giants are actually playing for more because the Browns lose this game. They're going to beat the Jets. They're going to have 10 wins and likely be in the playoffs. And if not, they're going to play Pittsburgh last week of the season to try to get in. But by the way, if the Giants do beat the Browns, they're going to have to beat the Cowboys last week of the season to get in most likely because I would assume the Giants lose to Baltimore, who I think is a little better than Cleveland. That would set up to be an extremely dramatic last week for both teams. In order for that drama to happen, the Giants have to win this game. So am I being a homer? Little bit. Am I going with my heart? Little bit, because I'm a huge Giants fan. But I do think there's reason to believe that they can win this game, and I think they will.
Well, you hold on to that belief. You hold on to that belief with your dear heart and with all your might, and end up finding yourself disappointed come Sunday night, Monday morning, because Giants ain't winning this game. I can't see that happening. I just can't. It'll say a lot to me about the Browns.
Not an unbeatable team.
If the Browns were to lose this game. If the Browns were to lose this game, it would say a lot to me about them.
What about Seattle? Seattle lost to the Giants. You know, Seattle's a good team. They lost.
Yeah. Well, Stephen A., do you expect anything less that Max would pick the Giants in this weekend's game? Something interesting, though, is because we don't know if Daniel Jones is going to be playing on Sunday. His status is in doubt. But if he is not playing, it will be former Browns head coach Freddie Kitchens play calling for former Browns starting quarterback Colt McCoy. So that could get a little interesting. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up here. We are going to be talking more football coming up. We already started the show with some breaking news. Drew Brees is a go for this weekend, but you're about to find out why Patrick Mahomes is already greater than first ballot Hall of Famer Brees. Buckle up. Another whole hour of First Take is on the way. Marcus Mariota stepping in his place, doing a fantastic job, but it just wasn't enough to outduel Justin Herbert and company. So, Max, what is the biggest story from last night's game?
Justin Herbert's the biggest story. Justin Herbert's having one of the greatest rookie seasons in the history of football at the quarterback position. And the team is talented, but they have, I'd say, the second worst coach in football right now behind Adam Gase, and it's holding Justin Herbert back. Justin Herbert's the story. By the way, the Raiders showed a lot of pluck yesterday, and Mariota played well. You know, you lose your starting quarterback, a guy comes in off the bench and plays like that, gives you a chance to win, and you're in overtime. It's not like you're just playing an opponent that's looking to go away. And Anthony Lynn, who makes a lot of mistakes clock managing at the end of games and just play calling throughout the game, I think has not really tapped into Justin Herbert's full potential. And what is that potential? You know, who is he most often compared to? Let me tell you the names that I've heard. On this show, I've heard you, Stephen A. Smith, compare him to who? Who did you compare him to? Do you remember?
Who are you talking about, Justin Herbert?
Yes.
I think I brought up Dan Marino. You
compared him to Dan Marino. And once upon a time, when you wanted to say the most talented ever, you would say Dan Marino. And you know who else I've heard him compared to on this network, on Get Up, Stephen A.? Patrick Mahomes. Now, I ain't saying he's Marino or Mahomes, but Dan Marino was an awesome rookie, and in his second year was the MVP of the league. Patrick Mahomes, in his second season, but his first year starting, was the MVP of the league. That means the best player in football, Marino and Mahomes. And I'm not saying Herbert's quite that, but he is compared to those guys for a reason. And right now, if you were to say, rank the quarterbacks in the NFL, I know he's a rookie. I know he hasn't shown what he could do with a real coach yet. I know they have a losing record. I would only take 5 guys ahead of him, Stephen A. I'd take Mahomes. I would take Aaron Rodgers. I'd take Russell Wilson. I'd take Deshaun Watson. I would take Josh Allen. But I don't think for long I would put Justin Herbert ahead of everyone else. If I had a signal caller to hand the ball to win a game, give me Justin Herbert. And understand, this is with a coach, Stephen A., who's calling quarterback sneaks and bootlegs when the defense knows it's coming. You know, even when Herbert takes a sack, it's the right thing to do. You can't throw the ball away in that situation. You're like, even when he takes, it could be intentional grounding, even when he takes a sack, you go, that's a smart play. It's not just the arm talent, which is ridiculous. He has a powerful arm. He's throwing laser beams and he's accurate down the field. His football IQ already, again, playing for a coach who's not getting the most out of him, is really very impressive. He doesn't have the evidence to say he's elite yet, but if you ask me who I'd take ahead of him, there are only 5 guys in the NFL right now.
Let me tell you why you're wrong. You're wrong, Max Kellerman, because you've been saying that about Justin Herbert for weeks. So ultimately, a story gets old. I'm not denying anything that you're saying about what we're seeing from him as a rookie. I've been very, very impressed with him. As far as I'm concerned, strong candidate for